on this channel. In this video, we will have our discussion on a very important divisional chart, which is the D-20 chart or the Vimshamsha chart. So now friends, whenever it comes down to judging an individual's capacity or potential to progress in the field of spirituality, gain expertise over mantras, how much interest you have towards the religious austerities, doing pilgrimages or worship of the god, visiting the temples and all of that. So for all of those information, there is one exclusive divisional chart, which is the D-20 chart, which can give you very authentic and elaborative information regarding this field of life. Friends, I will be very honest with you guys. The whole idea to upload and make a video on this topic came to me that a couple of days back I just came across this news that from one of the province of India, there is this very young girl. She is like hardly 12 years old. She's from the Jain community and she took this decision that now she wants to become a monk. So not only it was her own decision, but her parents and her whole community supported her this decision, and this was the national news. Like at a age when generally kids are more inclined towards their studies or playing, she has got this epiphany or this divine realization. So because of which, friends, I got intrigued, and definitely when I looked at the chart of so many spiritually elevated souls and saints and holy religious people, I actually saw the significance or relevance of this chart. So I just thought of making a very short video on this topic. So now friends, to begin with, like if you want to understand first of all what is the difference between spirituality and religion, so like the way I always say this thing, friends, that religion still has got some boundaries. Religion is something where you have to surrender yourself to the higher divine powers, and definitely divine beings protect you. But when we talk about spirituality, spirituality has everything to do with the conscious awareness of your soul. Like when we talk about the path of spirituality, is not only about attaining oneness with your soul or aligning it with the super consciousness. It's like aligning yourself with the whole pulse of the complete cosmos. So that is the potential which spirituality holds, the kind of knowledge which it can grant you. Trust me friends, I still remember like growing in India, and I always say this thing, like if you want to become a good astrologer, there are certain alignments, like you need to have strong Jupiter, you need to have strong Mercury, like you need to do the calculation, and there's so many things which comes into play. But when we talk about all those yogis, the pure yogis which you can find in India, who are completely driven by the energies of Ketu, and I have actually met those people who do not even have to look at your chart. Just by looking at your face, they will start reciting all of your complete life right there in front of you. I still remember, friends, I am a very big fan of Krishnadas, and once there was this kind of kirtan event which got organized in India, and just because if you are so devotedly in a habit of listening to this person, and when you see that person right in front of you, so he was just reciting one of the bhajana, I guess it was the Hanuman Chalisa only, and I was just got so mesmerized looking at him, and for the first time I saw such a elevated aura. I cannot even reveal it to you. So I don't know how many a layer of colors he had in his aura. So that is the kind of bliss and kind of divine intuitiveness you get when you follow the path of spirituality. Friends, trust me, even before when I started making astrology videos, or I started following or learning philosophy or all these occult subjects, I still remember, like I don't know whether it has something to do with my aura or my vibe. Wherever I go, I used to see this thing that people by themselves, they will start coming to me, they will start opening up, start telling their problems to me. Sometimes it has happened even with these strangers as well. I was like, why you are telling me your problems? What can I do in this? So sometimes you have that vibe deep within you which you carry with yourself, and all those people who resonate on an equal level with you, on that soul level, on that reverberating spiritual level, they can fairly reciprocate on the same vibes. And for gaining all of that potential, you have to be regular with your daily meditation, daily mantra practice, and all the teachings, all the wisdom which you have acquired from your guru, which you will soon get to know once we will get into the deeper aspect of the analysis of this chart. So now friends, to begin with, now when we talk about the contribution of this chart, so as I have already told you, this is a chart which tells majorly about the prospects of worship and the spiritual prospects which you hold within yourself. The second thing is that how can you differentiate it with the D9 chart or the Navamsa chart. So now friends, the D9 chart basically tells about the kind of fortune which you have acquired. Like that is something which is there with you. That is the kind of deep, reverberating, spiritual potential which the planets within your Lagna chart are holding, which is a kind of a divine reflection of your planets. But when we talk about the D20 chart, it has everything to do with the pulse, with your soul elevation. And this is a chart where you have to work in this lifetime. So I will be very clear, I will be very transparent with you. D9 chart is something which is a divine blessing of all the past life good deeds and merits which you have done. Basis that you have been blessed with a certain degree of fortune which can be understood in the form of the planetary alignments in your D9 chart. But D20 chart is something which is a kind of a reflection of all the spiritual prospects, potential which you hold. If you will work in that direction, you can take your planetary strength to its maximum potential. So that is how you can understand the difference between the D9 chart and the D20 chart. Now friends, comes the question that which planets and which houses to look at the D20 chart. So definitely friends, D20 chart in itself is the 20 division of your Rashi chart. So we are going to divide the Rashi into 20 divisions of 1 degree 30 minutes each. Definitely anything to do with spirituality, so Saturn is going to come in the forefront. So Saturn and Ketu are the two most important planets which you have to give attention to in the D20 chart, just because of the involvement of religion and worship aspect as well. So you have to also give attention to the placement of Jupiter as well. So Jupiter, Saturn and Ketu are the three planets which you have to give attention. Jupiter I have explained. Saturn, because Saturn is the planet which is responsible for karma, and all sort of spiritual siddhiya is something which we see and we attach with the Saturn. Ketu, because Ketu is the significator of ultimate liberation or moksha. Now friends, when we talk about from the houses perspective, so definitely any Varga chart, first house is something which you have to give attention to. That is going to give you about that your overall undertaking. If you have to encapsulate complete theme of your spiritual endeavors, what is it going to be? I will give you a small hint. In my case, it is Sagittarius rising in the D20 chart. So it has everything to do with the, pleasing my Isht Devta and the path of devotion towards my Isht Devta. So same way friends, first house plays a very pivotal role. Fifth house is the house of the mantra siddhi. It is the devotion towards your Isht Devta. We also have to give attention to 8th house, because the ultimate and epitome of the spiritual inclination and austerity is Samadhi. So 8th house, which also tells about the Samadhi. You have to also give attention to the 9th house, because 9th house is the house of the religious austerities, divinity, and finally and ultimately friends, 12th house, which is the house of your liberation or the moksha. Now friends, I will just give you a quick overview of the planetary alignments over here. Now friends, this is one of the chart where Rahu and Ketu are going to be placed in the same house. So their conjunction in the house, and let's say for example, if they are going to be conjunct with any other planet, so that is going to give you a strong inclination that where exactly the karma or the entanglement of the karma is going to influence you, which is the specific area of life where bondage or the freedom is completely connected in your life. And this is the area where you have to detach yourself, to transform, to get liberated. With this objective, you have to look at the placement of Rahu and Ketu in the D20 chart. Friends, I'm going to explain it to you, this chart, with the reference examples of some of the very revered holy saints as well. So the moment we will open up their charts, you will get to know the relevance of that. And now friends, if you want to actually understand all the 12 houses of the D20 chart in short, so that's very simple. First house, I've already explained it to you, that looking at the first house is going to tell you about the theme, overall undertaking and theme of your spiritual austerities. It's very simple friends. If it is Mercury being placed over there, so mantra recitation might play a very pivotal role in your spiritual undertakings. If it is about Jupiter, this might have to do with devotion. If it is about Saturn, strict discipline. If it's about Mars, there might be dutifulness and running around and exertion of energy which might be involved. If it's about Moon, it's about your emotions. Like there are those people who take the form of the bhakti yoga even in the path of spirituality. So that is how you will get to know basis the sign or the planetary presence in the first house of your D20 chart. Now friends, the moment you are going to come to the second house, definitely friends, second house could also tell about the deeply inculcated values. Like growing up, all of your spiritual austerity is something which you have acquired on your own in your journey of life, or this is something which you have received or acquired from your parental influence. Also friends, just because in certain families where there is a influence of their family gods, family deity, Kul Devta, Kul Devi as well. So that also you get to know while looking at the second house of the D20 chart. Friends, the moment you are going to come to the third house, definitely friends, third house tells about, you know, your daily visit to the temples or mosque or gurdwaras. Third house also tells about, because this is the house of your efforts. So how strengthened your determination, your willpower is in the path of spiritual undertakings. Friends, the moment you're going to come to the fourth house, it becomes a very important house, because just because it is one of the water houses, one of the moksha houses. Second thing is that friends, fourth house in whichsoever divisional chart you're going to open, it is going to tell about the contentment, the satisfaction and happiness you're going to acquire. We have seen all those kind of people because of the family pressure, or in many cases even in the fields of spirituality, some of the people, they take the route of spirituality just to evade or escape from their family duties and obligations or responsibilities. So the true nectar of happiness, contentment and satisfaction, are you getting that or not? Does your heart beat for that union with the divine, or to kind of unravel the secrets of the universe, or you are just escaping the family and, you know, society's duties and responsibilities? So a thorough scrutinization of the fourth house is going to tell you about that. Fifth house friends is very important, because this is the house of your past life merits, purv punya. And whenever we talk about the power of your mantra siddhi, mantra recitation, we have seen all those yogis and divine and spiritually elevated people who have gained mastery over mantra, like the way we say that in like in our Hindi language, that they have उन्होंने इस मंत्र को सिद्ध कर दिया है. They have made this mantra potent and powerful via repeated repetition of it. So that is something which you get to know from the placement of the fifth house in the D20 chart. Also your devotion to your personal or favorite deity. Friends, when we talk about the sixth house is definitely a house of struggle, strife or discipline. Most importantly, this is the house of discipline, that how much discipline and fighting spirit you have to demonstrate to stay firm in the path of your devotion or your spiritual practices. No matter whether there is some affliction of health, or your daily work life or your daily family life is very much demanding, but still, even after being in amidst of all of your family duties and responsibilities, will you be able to follow a strict discipline in your path of spiritual progress or not? Now friends, the moment you are going to come to the seventh house, this house plays a very pivotal role, the support or influence of your partner in your spiritual progress. Also friends, when we talk about all sort of group activities, like even within Hinduism, like I still remember back when I was in India, I was an active member with Art of Living. I used to undertake all of their courses, advanced courses, blessing courses. So all of those group activities, kirtan and everything. Now this is equally applicable to all the religions, like going to the church service or going to do the namaz. So all those things group activities pertaining to your religious or spiritual discipline and all of that can be foreseen from the 7th house. The moment you're going to come to the 8th house, friends, so as you know that 8th house tells about the samadhi. It is the highest form, one of the highest form of spiritual mastery, because friends, when we talk about the 12th house, that is the ultimate house of liberation and moksha, but living within this realm of the society with the access to the secret functioning of the universe, along with prospects of gaining samadhi, mantra siddhi, spiritual power, and your capacity to transform your life via taking spiritual refuge is something we get to know from the 8th house. The moment you are going to come to the 9th house, so definitely friends, this is the house which keeps you firm on the right path. Your devotion, religious guidance, interest in religious pilgrimages and everything that we get to know from the 9th house of the D-20 chart. 10th house, friends, plays a very pivotal role because 10th house is the house of actions and the results. So what you are going to gain out of your spiritual command and spiritual discipline, because many times what happens is that whatsoever right now I am doing over here in front of you, it's just like that I must have done something, whether in this life or in the past life, that I have got this kind of honor and respect, that I am in this state that I am speaking on these topics of spirituality, astrology, all of that in front of you. And all of you, I'm very thankful to you guys that you are my valuable and esteemed audience. So that is something which we get to know as the nature of your actions connected, whether is it connected to the spiritual field, spiritual lines, or what kind of a command you hold in this field, and the ultimate result of that. Friends, the moment you are going to come to the 11th house, so now friends, 11th house plays a very important role because it is the house of your wish fulfillment. Now this is the chart which is the chart of your spiritual austerities, your devotion, your worship. So friends, trust me, all of us like living within the domain and boundaries of our family life and our professional lives, our other duties and responsibilities, but there are those people who you will find within India, like if you attend these kind of religious gatherings like Kumbh Mela, Kamakhya Mela, which takes place once in so many years in India, and when you will get to see all those elevated and enlightened spiritual beings, those holy saints, some of them are so strict with their spiritual vows that some of the yogi you will find who is just living on one meal a day. There is this yogi, I still remember seeing him in one of the BBC documentary, where this guy has his one hand raised up in the sky just for so many years, just because of this one wish which he wants to get fulfilled from his Kul Devta, Kul Devi or personal god. So that is the kind of power potential which spiritual people in the spiritual discourse they carry within themselves, and whether all of those wish are going to get fulfilled in this lifetime or not, that we get to know from the 11th house planetary presence or placement. And finally friends, 12th house is the final house of self-realization, enlightenment, moksha. So this house plays a very pivotal role, that whatsoever your religious or spiritual austerities are, what is going to be the ultimate result or outcome of that? Will the ultimate dissolution of your soul with the ultimate super consciousness, will that be possible or not? That we get to know from the 12th house. So definitely friends, this is how you can see, or you can get the relevance of all the houses of this highly spiritual chart. Now friends, very quickly I'm going to give you and present to you the examples of some of the highly spiritually elevated enlightened beings, that how can you see the resonance of D-20 chart in their life. So friends, first we will look at the chart of Deepak Chopra. So when we talk about spirituality, this is one of the globally known name which comes to everyone's mind. So now friends, first we will look at his ascendant chart. So looking at Deepak Chopra sir's ascendant chart, he is born with the Aquarius rising, and as you can fairly see friends, in his case his ascendant lord is placed in the 6th house. So we all know that he started his profession first with being in the medical industry, a medical field. And the second thing is that friends, the moment you are going to come to his 10th house, in the 10th house you can fairly see that in his case Venus is his Yog Karaka planet for all the Aquarius rising, and Venus is conjunct with Ketu in the 10th house. So his profession, his public image will definitely have a say of Ketu, which has everything to do with spirituality, with your soul. And friends, if you will see and give attention to the ninth house, so we have 4 planets very well placed over there. And friends, whenever we talk about anything which has to do with transcendental meditation, which has anything to do with the matters of your soul or matters of life and death and reviving someone, so trust me, you have to give attention to the 8th house, and his moon is very well placed over there. Now friends, the moment you are going to open Deepak Chopra sir's D-20 chart, so friends, over here you can see that he has Aries rising over here, and in his case friends, his like first house lord in the D-20 chart has again gone to the 6th house. So 6th house is over and over again coming to relevance. So like the way I have already mentioned this thing, that in the D-20 chart, 6th house tells about your fighting spirit, your determination to being firm on this field, in this path. The second thing is that friends, again over here as well, his moon is very well placed in the 8th house, and here it is placed in the Scorpio sign. And most importantly friends, like the way I have mentioned this thing, that when we talk about a Rahu and Ketu's perspective, it becomes very important that which sign, which house Rahu and Ketu are placed in the D-20 chart, and are they conjunct with any other planet or not. So the moment you are going to see over here, Rahu and Ketu are conjunct with very well dignified Saturn over here in the 10th house, and Saturn in his main ascendant chart was his ascendant lord. So that in itself tells about that yes, whole life's focus is going in the matters of the 10th house, that this is what his public image is going to be towards, dedicated towards the path of spirituality, or bringing the world's attention towards the spiritual elevation or progress. Now friends, if you will take another example, so another example is of Shri Paramahansa Nandaji. So we all know that his contribution towards the Kriya Yoga, and not only that friends, like he is one of the initial very like popular yogi from the east, from India, who went to west and spread this knowledge, ancient knowledge, to all over the world. So now friends, definitely if you will look at Yoganandaji's ascendant chart, he has Leo rising over here, moon is present right over there in the 1st house, the lord of the ascendant, which is the planet sun, it is very well placed in the 5th house of yoga, of mantra siddhi. And friends, the moment you are going to open up the D-20 chart of Yoganandaji, so as you can see that in the 1st house you will find the energies of the Aries, with Mars very well placed over there. So that in itself tells about, because Mars has also got the rulership of the 8th house as well, firm, resolute of bringing transformation in the lives of the world through spirituality. Because friends, Mars is conjunct with Venus as well, which is the 7th house lord. And just looking at the 1st house, we get to know that how passionately this yogi, this person, work in this field, the task which he has undertaken to bring a revival and reform in the lives of the world. Second thing is that friends, definitely whenever we talk about anything to do with the gaining access to the secret functioning of the universe and the prospects of samadhi, so you have to give attention to the 8th house. In his 8th house you will find that Rahu and Ketu are conjunct with Jupiter and Sun as well, which has got the rulership of the 9th house and the 12th house, two most important house of religion, religious austerities, and the 5th house, which is again the house of devotion. So this is how friends we can see the relevance of this D-20 chart. And lastly friends, I also want to present the chart of Shri Ravi Shankar ji as well. So even when I was in India, I once got a chance to see him or talk to him. Also friends, we know that his Sudarshan Kriya and his teachings and his kind of his daily satsang has bring happiness in the lives of so many people. Just even remembering his name and his face just brings a smile in your face. And now friends, if you will see the Lagna chart of Ravi Shankar ji, so he has the Capricorn rising, so Mars is exalted in the 1st house and Jupiter is exalted in the 7th house. Sun is also kind of exalted in the 4th house. So just while looking at this chart, we can get to know about the highly elevated spiritual kind of stature which he has, and his capacity to bring a reform in the life of the masses. The second thing is that friends, the moment you're going to look at the 5th house, so such a beautiful yoga, we have it over here. Moon is exalted conjunct with Ketu. So this is something, he is like a wise soul which has acquired these talents, and I can be very confident just by looking at Ravi Shankar ji's chart that he is not only doing this holy divine job in this incarnation, in this life. He must have started this mission even from the past life as well. The second thing is that, friends, the moment you're going to open up the D20 chart of Ravi Shankar ji, so friends, definitely you will see that over here, first of all, friends, whenever we talk about his whole approach, he has always given emphasis on forgiveness, on compassion, on love, on harmony. So you will see that Venus is very well placed over there in the 12th house. Now friends, like the way I have already mentioned this thing, that when we specifically talk from the Vimshamsha charts perspective, it's the 1st house, 5th house, 8th house, 9th house, 12th house. In the 5th house, we have a very dignified moon over there. If you will look at the Mars, which is very well placed in the 6th house, dignified in the Leo, that tells about the discipline, the kind of very organized approach which he has had in this field, or this task which he has undertaken to bring a reform in the life of the masses. The second thing is that, friends, if you will look at the 8th house, in his 8th house, friends, in his case, his Rahu and Ketu are present in the 8th house, the house of Samadhi, house of access to the secret functioning of the universe, and it is conjunct with Mercury as well. Now Mercury in the D20 chart is the lord of the 4th house and the 7th house. So 4th house is the house of inner contentment and happiness, and 7th house is towards your duties towards the world, and the lord of these two important houses is placed and dignified in the Libra sign in the 8th house. And in the 9th house, friends, we do not have to, like we can fairly see that in his case, his D20 first house lord, which is the Jupiter, it is very well placed with the sun, which has also got the rulership of the 6th house. So the heavy task which he has undertaken to put people on the right path of devotion. Because friends, I still remember when I was in India and I was regular with art of living classes and workshops and all of that. So majority of the attendees in the art of living workshops were the young kids, like high school students or undergrad students, postgraduate students. So imagine what a beautiful job he has done and he is doing, because that is the age when kids and their minds are so gullible, so vulnerable. You are very much kind of sensitive and volatile to being misguided, and that is the kind of job and holy job which Shri is doing, that he is putting the youth, the energy of the youth in the right direction. So that is something, friends, which I wanted to say, just a brief idea and overview of this very important chart of Vedic Astrology. For further more updates and notifications on the divine signs of Vedic Astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Dhanyavad.